This week on Randy Reviews It, I sent my gun to Ernest. No, not that one. Ernest Langdon at LTT Tactical, Langdon Tactical, however you want to call it. I sent off my H&K P30L LEM to get done up. Stick around and find out what came back. Hey everybody, Randy Reviews It here. So this week we're talking about my H&K P30L LEM that I got done up by Langdon. I just got it back like 4 weeks ago. So I've been shooting it every week since I've gotten it so that I could get a decent experience with it before I give any type of impression, review, that sort of thing. So what did I actually have Langdon do to my gun? So I ordered the RDR mount with the RMR setting, and you can see it's got a rear sight behind the RMR. So one of the things that happened since I've sent this gun off to Langdon and it's come back is Langdon is now offering front-facing sights. So where the rear sight will be in front of your optic, which is a really awesome thing. I would recommend going that approach, to be honest, because the sights that Langdon uses on here are pretty high. They're like an absolute co-witness. So my dot is sitting on that front post when I pull up. So if you don't want to be inhibited by like the rear sight, you might want it in front of your RMR. So I would recommend going that approach. LTT just started offering those plates. You can, if you already own something like this, I believe you can just buy a new plate and switch to that. Maybe I'll do that down the road. I don't know if it's necessarily worth paying that much money to put the sight in front of your red dot, but if you're doing it for the first time, I would recommend rear sight forward. So I got the Gray Guns flat trigger. So you can kind of see, let's see if we can get this light a little bit better there. So it's got an angle on it, but gun clear. So just to show you how this looks, that's where the wall is. So it's pretty much right when it's 90 degrees or like perpendicular to the gun. There's the wall and you go right through it. And it breaks. We'll show you that reset. Very little reset, and then you're right at that wall again. So the Gray Guns flat trigger. Gray Guns flat trigger, I wasn't sure if I'd be a huge fan of it, but luckily for me, the reason that I sent this gun off is I was at the PSA gathering this year, and Langdon was out there, and they had their guns all done up, and I got to try all the Gray Guns flat trigger. I got to try the flat trigger and the PX4, and I really, really liked it. So if you're afraid that you might not like it, I think it's way better than the stock trigger. I would recommend it. You gotta try it. If you're still on the fence, get out to an event, find someone that has one, a friend, something, but definitely give it a go. So the other option I did on that Gray Guns trigger is the extra light. So mine comes in about 3 3/4 pound trigger. That's the weight before it breaks. Because it's like ultralight take up all the way to that wall. Let's see that again. So ultralight take up, see it right to the wall. It's just choo, nothing to it. Hammer comes back, choo, choo, laser gun. So it comes straight to that wall. That wall, you just roll right through it. It's 3 3/4 pounds. It's wildly, like, it's not, there's so much travel that I'm not really afraid of carrying it. But if it was just a striker fire trigger with that weight, I might be a little nervous about things, and maybe say what you want about me as a man. But I think that the trigger works well for being the long double action and LEM. And in fact, if you're going to get a gun all done up by Langdon, the HK series, I would typically recommend the LEM. Their double action is going to be good, but we're going to do a video breakdown of PX4 versus P30, and I've even got a Langdon 92 on the way. So we're going to compare all of Langdon's basically options, and you're going to see why the HK, the LEM, stands out. So let's talk about cost. This isn't cheap. The gun itself, you're probably looking at a $600 gun, especially like depending on the LEM and the variants and things like that. The P30 is not as cheap as the VP9, I'll tell you that much. So it was $585 to get the RDO mount, which comes with the plate. I put my own Holosun on there, which is the 407, and then they Cerakote the slide after they machine it, and then they threw in the Gray Guns trigger with the short reset. They tuned the springs and everything like that to that extra light setting. So $585 for both the trigger and the RMR plate and the milling. So how does it perform now? Let's talk about that. The trigger reset, the trigger is almost unmatched, I think. Like, it's one of my favorite triggers to use on any gun that I've ever had. I've shot 1911s, I've shot all these things. That is just like you swing, it's like as soon as you punch out or whatever you want to call it, you're right at that wall and you're ready to go. Like, there's no guessing. You know there's a wall there because it's so light before that wall that you hit that wall, and it's great. I absolutely love the trigger. It's really easy to shoot this gun well. So one of the draws of kind of the HK P30 series is because it's hammer fired, that hammer absorbs some of the recoil and some of the force that's coming back. So with a striker, you know, you're just cocking the striker and it's ready to go. With the hammer, it's got to kind of ride over it a bit, and it slows things down. I can't really say to describe it much, but this definitely shoots softer than any VP9, hands down. So if you're really into HKs and everything like that, the P30 is a solid offering, and then Langdon doing it up is even cooler. I know Langdon is working on USPs now, it looks like, so I'm interested. I've been thinking about grabbing a USP 9 compact and getting that all done up, but if you are really into HKs, P30s, especially, you know, like this has the John Wick factor. Like, I think Ernest Langdon should have been the sommelier in John Wick, and the movies would have been so much better, because the first movie, he just goes, grabs his HKs. He's got, you know, what is it, like Glock 26s as well. So it's not like he's just going full HKs. But I feel like there was a reason they did that first film, and then it went so well, and then the subsequent films started getting worse and worse. I'm a huge fan of John Wick, but they did get worse as soon as like Taran Butler's name got pieced into everything and they made it all about Taran Butler's gun, where I feel like Ernest Langdon would be like, yep, that gun shoots good, here you go. Have your pick. Like, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but he would have recommended good stuff. So if you're into John Wick, if you're like, there's like, I think Wicked Compensator, you can get a threaded barrel and get like a pseudo John Wick compensator that gets pretty pricey, but things got pretty bad when Taran Butler got into John Wick, and I think the P30 is the actual John Wick gun, the P30L. So how does this compare to other guns that are around that $1,000 price range? That's the real question. So when you're at that $1,000 price range, you're getting into Springfield TRPs, you're getting into Zev Glocks, you're getting into, you know, these CZ Shadows. You know, you're looking at Shadow 2s and things like that. So this is definitely not what I would consider like geared towards competition. So a Shadow 2 is probably going to lend itself better towards competition just because of the weight of the gun, metal frame, and, you know, CZs have that lower bore axis. They do shoot nice. If you were going to compare this, though, against, let's say, the, what is it, the P07, this would smoke it. It's not even close. Like, as far as polymer pistols go, I think this is up there with, like, any of the good ones. Any of the good ones. The polymer pistols, this is up there. It's not going to fit that competition niche as well, potentially, because of it just being lighter in weight, things like that. I do think that as far as if you paid, you know, like all in all, I got, let's say, $1,100 into the gun and then $350 for the red dot. So we're looking at $1,400. I don't know if there's another gun you get for around that price tag that is as good without coming from Langdon. I'm adding that caveat because we still got to talk about a PX4 update. I think those two guns, this and the PX4, dominate that kind of, before you get into staccatos and 2011s and all of that stuff. For practical gun use, I think these are as high as you get. So, if you have any questions, definitely reach out. I think if you haven't tried a P30 before, try the VP9 first, and see if you like that. If you like the VP9, the P30 is a VP9 refined. Think of it that way, because if you get into P30 right off the bat and you drop all this money in it and it's not your bag, there's a lot of proprietary stuff you put into it that you probably wouldn't see return if you try to sell it again, potentially. So that's where, as an honest reviewer, and I'm doing honest, I don't know why I'm doing the quotations, because I'm not making any money doing this YouTube stuff. In fact, I'm losing quite a bit, but it's fun, and I like getting the information out there. I would not want you to immediately dive into a Langdon P30 if you haven't tried a VP9 yet. I think if you try a VP9 and you're like, I really, really like the ergos on this, I like the way it feels, I could see this being like one of my favorite guns, then give the P30 a chance. And I think you'll like the P30 more. I'm getting rid of my VP9s because P30L, these, I like them. They're great. They're better guns, definitely. So, yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, shoot them in the comments. I'll be happy to respond. I'm going to keep shooting the heck out of this. We've had no malfunctions, no failures, no issues. It shot great. I'm accurate with it. I enjoy shooting it. 585 was well worth it. If you have a P30 and you haven't sent it into Langdon, you're missing out. Thanks for watching. Take care.